حضور الكرام، الجلسة التالية حول وضع التجارة الإلكترونية في المملكة العربية السعودية ودول مجلس التعاون الخليجي مع ريم عبداللطيف رئيس تحرير قسم اللغة الإنجليزية بأرقام، حيث تشغل ريم عبداللطيف منصب رئيس تحرير قسم اللغة الإنجليزية لبوابة أرقام المالية، وتمتلك شركة أرقام الاستثمارية مقرها برياض بوابة أرقام المالية التي توفر لعملائها قاعدة بيانات مالية متكاملة وواسعة. وترأس عبداللطيف فريق تحرير الأخبار المالية الذي يضم 8 محررين في القاهرة ودبي والمملكة العربية السعودية.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be introducing our panelists this afternoon. We have Dirk, the Managing Director of Criteo. Please, Dirk, join us. We have Mr. Abbas, General Manager of MENA, JollyChic. We have Emre, Chief Commercial Officer and Board Member of HepsiBurda.com. And Mr. Beck,
from AWOC.
Founder and Chief Executive Officer of AWOC.com. So today we're going to be discussing the developments happening in the e-commerce sector, specifically in Saudi Arabia and the GCC. So the e-commerce spending is expected, it reached more than $7.9 billion in 2016 alone in Saudi Arabia. And it is seen growing to $14 billion by 2021. But we have a lot of issues to discuss with VAT coming up. A lot of competition, Amazon entering the market, and Noon.com as well. So I wanted to start off our first question to Mr. Emre. I know you guys aren't operating in Saudi Arabia just yet, but I was hoping you could tell us more about your experiences and how they can help influence or help kind of benefit the Saudi market.
Yes. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for HepsiBurda. Just to give you a brief background on who we are. We are Turkey's, actually Eastern Europe's now largest e-commerce platform, we can call ourselves. Around 80 million traffic a month we get. We're both 1P, 3P, so we have a marketplace as well. We do our own fulfillment as well as provide fulfillment services for merchants. We have more than 5 million SKUs live on our site, and our focus has always been the Turkish market. So I'll talk about what we have done to prevent against e-commerce or e-commerce, and then kept our market dominance in the market. I think it's very important because cross-border is always a reality. It will happen. But what we've seen is simply listing products and sending them cross-border without having what I call troops on the ground. That doesn't work, especially in regions like us where delivery, payment, returns is an issue. So the e-commerce market's maturity moves away from price competition to service level very fast. And to provide that service level to the customer, you really need to be touching the customer. We were just discussing before the panel, what are we in the business of, right? Well, these days we are in the business of logistics. So we are in the business of making sure that last mile, that last return. We are also.
This is not your core business.
Yeah.
You have other stuff to focus on.
Yeah. That's what we're kind of in the business of. So for the growth of this market, I think it's going to be similar to what happened in the Turkish market as well. With VAT coming, customs are going to be much more regulated. Players have to be in the market to succeed. So that'll be my introduction.
Could you tell us a little bit more how you were able to use data science to become relevant
Yes.
to customers?
One success factor, we've been around for 19 years, so that means we have more data than we can ever crunch about a customer, their trends, what gets bought on a Tuesday versus what gets bought on a Thursday. So we've actually invested in a data science company. We built our own data science company, which basically is now running our business. So that's what makes us relevant to the customer, because the easiest choice to do for e-commerce companies like us is discount. Well, that's a race to the bottom. That kills companies, right? So you do discount on this, you go into a price war. Price and service level combination with the trust level is actually what matters. So at any point in time, our front end is fed with more than 10 million data points, so it can actually make a decision to show what product to you, or give it at a discount to you. I mean, we're nowhere near Amazon levels. We understand that, but that's our way of being more relevant to the customer. And this is pure technology, right? This is it's not rule driven. It's actually machine learning driven. So no one can trick the system. Since we have both a one-party platform and a third-party platform, we actually compete within each other, within ourselves, right? So who gets what we call the buy box, right? The buy box algorithm. Who gets to be the featured one on the platform gets decided by the machine, and you can't trick the machine. That keeps us honest. So I think it's things like this, being more relevant to the customer, with having troops on the ground. You can't expect to win in a country with remote control. It never happens. We've had Rocket Internet come in and leave. We have eBay in the market, which is number 3, number 4 player at best. So I wouldn't be worried about international competition doing cross-border into the market unless they're really here. Well, if they're really here, then they're playing by your rules, which makes the battleground even.
Do you have any plans to enter the Saudi market anytime soon?
After saying all this, not without a proper partnership, and nor without being physically here. It is a very flourishing market. The customer acquisition costs, I hear, are much lower than in our markets. So it's really time to be here. But the right strategy is to actually be physically here, employ people here. And we are at a disadvantage even from a language perspective. So we have to be physically here if we're going to execute on that strategy.
Okay, well, speaking of being here, maybe Abbas, you can talk to us a little bit more about dealing with some of the issues you face in Saudi Arabia. You guys have also had a huge success story as well. I'm sure a lot of people here know that. And I also wanted to ask you, if there are plans to open up any manufacturing facilities in Saudi Arabia, and how would that help your costs?
Yeah, I mean, as a CBT company, definitely the whole, international market was our potential market, right? ROI is coming from this region where the highest, so we shifted focus to that specific region. And this is where JollyChic started thinking more local, right? Content, as Emre was saying, you need to be physically here to be able to penetrate more and more in market. JollyChic had a very, makes sense model, if I want to say. We have the Chinese manufacturing because JollyChic has long history in enabling China factories to be online on Amazon and other platforms, and it made sense for us to have a platform. Now we have the platform, we have the supply side that is very solid. From demand side, indeed Saudi has one of the still untapped when it comes to internet marketing or digital marketing, and acquisitions are relevantly still makes sense for a lot of businesses, and this is where we capitalized on. And technically speaking, almost 80% of our digital spend is being on this region now. So, and we're going to grow in a vertical mode, if we want to say. So we're going to focus on this region more and more. From
By this region, you mean MENA or the GCC?
GCC, if I want to position it well. Now, when you start growing, you start discovering all these challenges, right? Technically, as Emre was saying, yes, we spend a lot of time on logistics and managing payments of those logistics because we are a cash and delivery country. So we spent maybe 50% of our resources and time trying to optimize that process. We have solid supply, we have solid demand, but we still need to worry about these parts. Now, earlier, e-commerce was about supply, selection, pricing, everything. I think now we need to start shifting more into thinking in the customer's shoes, right? What does the customer want? We have to do this job, and this is where Emre emphasized and is doing a great job. We have to offer them what is relevant for them, right? We cannot keep depending on the search and the browse and the items that we push to the customer. We have to change that mindset internally to accommodate what customers want. The first part of that is localization, right? Understanding what actually consumers want in this region. And this is why we invested more and more in the teams. So in total, we are almost 500 people in the Saudi for JollyChic, focusing on logistics, operation, fulfillment, and definitely all the localization activities. Factories or manufacturing, it's all about feasibility, right? What we care about is ultimately we're giving the best offer for the customer. So when we say offer, means the selection, product range, and definitely price, right? So if it makes sense that we offer our customer a good offering with a good price, that's something we would definitely consider. Mm-hmm. And we do have some our private labels that we do manufacture. So that is something that needs to be understood from feasibility.
In Saudi Arabia or in the region?
It could be in the region. Then again, it's all part of the feasibility, right?
There was also some chatter about creating manufacturing centers in Egypt as well. Can you update us a little bit on that?
So we explored Turkey, we explored Egypt. Again, if you want to think why we think like this, we think customer, right? So we have to be close to our customer. We have to be relevantly make sense for the customer. We have to give a good offering for the customer. Anything that caters that vision, we will support doing it. Now, if you say why Saudi versus Egypt, because Egypt is still cost of production or cost of factory manufacturing is still, close to China model. So we would be considering, but nothing is like solid. I mean, this is super deep intelligence. I don't know if you know about this stuff.
Dirk, I wanted to ask you about kind of customizing the ads and services that you offer to the region. How have you been able to tackle that?
So
we know customers are becoming more picky. Speaking on an international level, not just the Middle East.
I actually have a lot to say. I didn't want to interrupt because they're all my clients, so I need to be polite. And they said very good things before. To be honest, we we covered a lot of very different topics already that are crucial. Maybe a quick step back. Number one, what's really interesting, me managing at Criteo for many years now, new markets. I haven't come across any market where there is a problem or a challenge coming up that I haven't heard of. So number one, we can be very confident. Nothing is too bad or too challenging. And there are actually challenges right now also that we're covering a lot that e-commerce and commerce overall is facing globally. So it's the same general basic challenges that the players are facing.
But I'm sure you've seen some unique challenges to Saudi Arabia.
Of course, I mean, we have just heard it as well. I mean, obviously, logistics is rather a bigger challenge in Saudi, but in the region, even in UAE, where I'm living, than back in Europe, right? And we've heard it as well, like that an e-commerce player is saying we need to become a logistic company is a very interesting thing. And this is when I look at my clients in Russia. When you look at the ones like Ozone, so the Amazon of Russia, or the biggest fashion player, Wildberries, they are amongst the biggest logistic companies. And they keep buying their own trucks and like increasing their own logistic force for a clear reason, because of the increasing expectation from the customers in terms of speedy, fast delivery, a certain quality in terms of the delivery as well. And so far, it seems that the typical logistic companies couldn't fulfill those needs, so they were setting up their own logistic companies. Here, and you were covering the creatives or the ads, obviously there's very specific rules that we need to apply in Saudi, of course. But overall, and that's the interesting thing around creatives and ads, what we heard from Emre also in a different aspect, it's about machine learning and it's automated. So what we do is all in real time, and there is no one sitting there building a creative any longer. It's optimized for every single person. So if we want to show you right now an ad, I wouldn't tell you what we are showing you. It's actually the machine that decides in the moment what we will show and is creating and is learning and optimizing towards.
It's kind of scary as well, because the ads that pop up are almost reading your mind.
Yeah, which is scary if you're new in this world, more or less. But we've been doing this for more than 10 years.
The millennials
and
are
it's
used
interesting,
to it.
Indeed. In the beginning, the consumers were curious, but they got used to it. So we don't see any real questions around this any longer. But it's actually relevant, and this
convenient.
It's convenient and it's relevant. So in the end, only 7% of the total time spent online right now, this is a US number, is actually spent related shopping. So people in the US spend 4 hours online every day now. Only 7% of that is related to everything with shopping. So what that means is you as a commerce player, and that you want to address your customers and consumers, you need to be super, super smart to understand what is the interest of this person that you're about to show an ad. Otherwise, you're going to lose their interest and you're going to lose them as a customer potentially.
And do you expect to see kind of a boom in online advertising in Saudi Arabia and the GCC with Amazon entering Noon.com?
Yeah, so I mean, it's clear, and you mentioned some numbers, it's happening already. It would have happened anyways. There is several trends that is impacting this right now. One is the whole thing around omni-channel, how we call it, so offline to online and vice versa. So this is interesting. When we started in the region in GCC, people were literally questioning a success of e-commerce, because they were saying it's like offline brick and mortar retail is so big, so successful, it's part of the lifestyle. It will never really, e-commerce will never really succeed. What you see is actually that the consumers are changing, and we heard this from Abbas and Emre as well. You need to adapt to the consumer. For the consumer, it's one world already. It's not offline and online. Absolutely. With the mobile phones, that immediately gives the consumer the chance to be in a store and actually be offline and online at the same time, researching for products with their mobile phone. So for the consumer, it's one commerce world already. And that is continuously driving also overall the growth and the shift to the digital part of commerce. At the same time, indeed, I think Generally, it's a great thing of Amazon through Souk stepping in, but a local player like Noon, a regional player, coming up as well. Because one thing that I saw in this region that we were missing, we had strong local players already, but we were missing a bit the next step, the innovation, the towards, you know, literally serving the needs of the customers in terms of product range, in terms of the logistics, and obviously this brings in a bit of competition. It pushes everyone a bit as well. But it's a great story for the region overall that, you know, more and more money is flowing into you know, this industry.
And you guys entered the market in the past how many years?
So I mean, my first time in Saudi was 4 years ago when we started running the first campaigns here, and opened up an office in Dubai just shortly after that.
And I mean, we've all seen the market boom since then as well. So.
It's one of the, for us, it's one of the fastest growing right now.
Okay, thank you, Dirk. I had another question for Beck. You know, Noon.com just launched yesterday. Earlier this week, we heard that Souk introduced over 1 million Amazon products to its online store. And this was the first major step since its takeover by Amazon. Do you expect to see kind of price wars coming up in the coming period?
Probably. Thank you, first of all, for giving me a question, because there is very interesting topics are there discussing. The probably price war when we are talking about the price war, all the e-commerce has become as an area where every time we target the price, right? Because we target the consumer through pricing. Because when you go to the offline world or traditional retail, that you will see that there is a services, they're given extra services, they're given kind of, for you, like a good shopping area, malls, those services you have to pay for it. And that the prices are, there is, the actually is much higher than the one area can be much higher than another area. And at the same time, they will be doing the better sales, right? But when it comes to the e-commerce has become traditionally area where there is a price is the first target. So whatever we'll say about it, that we are giving a service, fast delivery, or any other things, it doesn't work. Believe me, it doesn't work at all, right? We are shipping our goods from Dubai to Saudi Arabia within 3 to 10 working days, right? The deliverability rate is much higher than in UAE. But in UAE, it's traditionally everyone is putting in your mind that 24-hour delivery, 12-hour delivery, or the same-day delivery. Wait, it looks like that the consumer is looking for a pricing, is not looking for the delivery timing, right? So I believe that there is a price war will continue, even though there is Amazon is coming, Noon is coming, any other companies are coming. So the trends will be changing, the players will be changing throughout the time. The real leaders will see that after, I think so, the 3 to 4 years, right? Today, we cannot recognize that there is someone is a leading market. Yes, maybe they are leading in the volumes. Like if we look back in China when it was 2003, 90% market in C2C was owned by eBay, which is today doesn't exist in the market. Or in 2007, 21.7% of market was owned by Amazon, which is today 2.1%. So this way that the leaders can change, right? That the price is not the key. So price wars is I think so, is a secondary will become when it comes to the innovation. So how you're innovative, what are you doing, what are you supporting, what's your vision? So this is I think so will become a key. So when it comes to the question of the logistics is, as it is mentioned, one of the biggest problems today, because they're the one which is limiting to grow our markets. The cross-border logistics has a limitation, right? The demand is much higher than supply in Saudi Arabia. Let's say if we look at Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia market is not growing so fast because of there is a demand is there, but there is a supply is not there. When you come to the logistic companies, you want to speak with them and you say to them, hey guys, I want to give you volume. The first question they will say, oh, sorry, I cannot take that volume. I need to build, I need to recruit, I need to put the fulfillment center. So somebody have to invest, right? And this is the question, and I think so. Until unless we'll not solve the supply, we will be having this issue continuing, right, between us, and we'll be fighting for the things which is I don't know, because within the limited volume, everyone will be fighting the who's giving better price and better price for consumer, and at the same time who's giving a much higher price for logistic partners.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the campaigns that you have personally launched or prepared ahead of the increased competition that we're going to see? and how do you keep customer loyalty?
Today, I think so. The Ewok has one of the highest loyalty comparably because our 70% of our customers are returning customers. The comparably it is way higher than the industry standards. This is first. And the second, about the campaigns, of course, I mean, you target the consumer again. It very much depends on how you can deliver to consumer. The first of all is before doing any campaign, let's say today we were facing, especially Black Friday, we were facing a problem of the volume. The volume was in the market more than the logistic companies can supply. So at that time, we faced real challenges. Now, before doing any campaign, first of all, we need to think again about the available spaces. What is the space available? And at the end of this year, probably the space will be very much limited compared to the next year.
Okay. Abbas, maybe you can also speak to us about
since the game now is a price game and it's set already, right? So we can't run away from it. So, I mean, JollyChic has proved that you can create your own game, right? You move away from what is happening and you just bring a new product or a new selection or a new range and a new standard maybe, and it works. So we don't sell any branded product. We're only selling probably trendy, new, like red carpet, what is happening now in like all the fashion big places, and Chinese manufacturing. Probably in China, some of our brands make sense, but here nobody knows them, right? So we brought this, and it was growing like in an unmanageable or uncontrollable way. And we faced this problem where logistics companies tell us we can't hold it anymore, especially that we are not only depending on the domestic part, we still have products coming on daily basis from Hong Kong and China. So we don't sell branded products. I don't know if ultimately we will, but for now, we don't sell branded products. We're relevantly affordable. Our average item price, $10 to $15. Our ticket is probably like having 7, 8 items of these, and it's growing perfectly. I mean, again, that's give us one thing very, very important. We need more players. The more players that will come to this region, it will untap a new thing that we don't know, because what we do is we keep learning, optimize as we go, right? So we keep optimizing on the learnings that you get. You're not going to get exposed to new learning unless you understand from what is happening internationally, or if a new player is coming, and we will see where it's working, and we capitalize on that, right? So the more players we have, I think this is very healthy. I don't think we will think of a competition. It's more into enriching that customer base, enriching the customers, and ultimately who proves better intelligence in terms of machine learning and artificial intelligence and product recommendation.
So it challenges your creativity, basically,
and
what you're saying, and services.
Like after the sale happens, what do you do with that customer, right? Like how do you return them, how do you serve them, and how do you invest in your local infrastructure from customer service, return facilities, warranties, and like all of these after-sale services, right? So yes, we need more players, and probably this will enable more and more courage maybe from the offliners to come more and more online using our platforms eventually, right? So, yeah.
But that's why, to step in, that's why I believe, because we heard a lot about price, so I agree. Of course, you know, there's a high price sensitivity that is driving customers, in particular for the first time. But then it's really about the stickiness and convenience, right? And this is what the big players have done well. And what an Amazon doing is extremely well in Europe, in Germany in particular, where they're very dominant, and in the US, because they have a holistic view. And it goes a lot further. It's coming a lot into marketing as well, right? Understanding exactly your customer, knowing their next interest, and then, you know, communicating to them in a relevant way. This is becoming crucial. And stickiness and convenience is a lot about what's your storefront looking like? Do you have already a really nice app? Do you, you know, are you communicating with your clients through the different devices as well. And you will very quickly lose if you're just focusing on the price, because a consumer moves once or twice. But if there is a convenience, you're logged in through an app, your payment methods are stored, and then you get offerings through smart marketing initiatives, for instance, you are a lot more likely to go back quickly and then say, okay, I'm just going to buy. And this is a success that you see also in the travel world with big global players like a Booking. And regional players where you're logged in once, and if you're being talked to, spoken to, communicated well from that player as a customer, then you're a lot more likely to immediately say, okay, that's interesting. I was planning to go there anyways. I booked the hotel. I don't even mind comparing too much right now.
But how can they do that in Saudi Arabia and the GCC? How can they change the way they communicate to the consumers?
So again, this is where I see more like a global topic and challenge, and it's not only something specific here in Saudi Arabia. It's about number one, being present where your consumers are, right? So I still, have a lot of the past 12 months, I still receive from clients questions. Dirk, what do you think? Like, should we invest now in an app, right? And this is a bit of a chicken and egg.
Clients in Saudi?
In the region.
In the region, okay.
And this is a chicken and egg problem, right? Obviously, you might not, depending on your vertical, you might not see a lot of customers yet coming through the app. But if it's not optimized, if it's not a great app that offers a really smooth experience, then the users won't go there. They won't use it, right? But what we see is that, number one, again, mobile is growing massively, and the whole e-commerce and the numbers that we see across our clients, and I've shown this earlier as well, where we have 80% of the total commerce that we see through all our clients right now coming through mobile in the region, 80%. So some of the clients, again, of the players, depending on the vertical, have less, others even have more or are 100% mobile, and app is the fastest growing here. So again, coming to the fact, you need to be where your customers are, and you need to understand them. And the key point is what Emre mentioned earlier, and this is something that we have seen the past years like massively happening, is that our clients, the e-commerce players, have focused a lot on actually getting in-house competence around data, around marketing, around performance marketing, not relying as much any longer on third parties, on in particular agencies as well. They need that in-house because they have so much data, and data is worth nothing if you don't know how to activate it, and if you don't know how to use it, that it's adding somehow value. And for that, at some point, and that is something that we have been talking about a lot years back already, the change from madman to methman. It's like at Criteo, when we hired people, even our marketing people had to do an analytical test because everything is around numbers and is about crunching and understanding the numbers. And this is where it's moving to. Even creative campaigns will eventually be run by machines that will learn. And so this is really about understanding your customers and your consumers. And for that, my opinion is you need to have the in-house competence as well to crunch that data and use it.
Okay. Emre, I think you wanted to, please go ahead.
I think what's key is we can't be what we used to be maybe 5 years ago as e-commerce players. We can't be the what I call ourselves like the lazy e-commerce websites, right? Where we're a catalog, we put prices, photos on a catalog, and then we expect people to buy. Those days are way over. Now there's curated selling, right? In the Turkish market, we expect 10% of e-commerce sales are now coming through Instagram shops. They don't even have a website.
Yes.
Right? They have a handful of products that are trendy that the customer wants, and they're pushing it through Instagram.
And they're using WhatsApp.
So it's not the days of let's build a website and let's just even use a third-party fulfillment center to put our goods into, and have someone ship it, and have someone deliver it to the customer. Those days are way gone. We are, by definition, disruptors. We're disruptors of the retail industry, right? Or renovators, let's say. But we have to be disruptors in the logistics industry as well. So we have our own, we launched our own, well, they yell at me when I call it a cargo company, because it's not a cargo company. It's a logistic company, right? We don't have our own trucks because we did the math and we'll say we'll never make money. So it's actually an Uberization model of delivery, because the demand peaks and valleys are so fluctuating that you will always have excess capacity that's not utilized, right? So we built, and dropping that, you know, Uber can launch in a new city in a matter of days these days, right? It's just it's a two-sided network effect. So we said let's do the same thing for our delivery as well. Now, in order to stay at the top of mind of the customer, which we've luckily had the liberty to do in Turkey. In Turkey, 63% of product searches happen on Google, 61% happen on Hepsi Burada. So which means I'm not only an e-commerce player. To the brands, I can go back and say, look, I am your online presence. So we have to play all the parties in the, and we are also a Google certified, we're the only company in Turkey that is a Google certified agency. We are our own agency, because we haven't, at the level of complexity of digital marketing that we do, you need to be at that level. We are the alpha partner of Google. So we're as good as, we work with Criteo, but the reason we work very well with Criteo is because we feed Criteo with the right set of data on, and with the right expectations. What a lot of the companies, well, you know, what some companies do is what I call lazy e-commerce. Have somebody else do everything, and let me just do the sourcing. Those days are way gone. So that's my 2 cents.
Beck, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the VAT. We've heard yesterday that it's officially going to be applied on e-commerce transactions in Saudi Arabia starting next month. How do you perceive that's going to impact growth in the coming couple of years for e-commerce transactions?
First of all, on this area, there is no clarity till now, because just yesterday we was discussing with our logistic partners who is doing especially in cross-border. There is no clarity at all, right? Who have to be charged, how it need to be charged, and there is a GCC agreement. If you're located in Dubai, you need to be charged or not, right? Because you already paid those, and how to do the reconciliation. I mean, there is no clarity at all. So probably the first 1 or 2 months there will be a little bit.
Because the UAE has the VAT as well, so
everyone has in GCC.
It's not, it's not clear how it's going to be. You can't double charge the customers, obviously.
Yes, because there is, I mean, a lot of clarity need to be studied on this area, because I'm sure the first 1 or 2, 3 months, first quarter we can keep for this type of questions. The impact in terms of the business, I don't feel that there will be a lot of impact into the business. Why? Because that's not like a huge, right? First of all, it's only 5%. Especially in the industry where we are working as e-walk, or our items, the average basket is way lower. So it will not make it, I don't believe it will make it something impact into sales. The only area which is, it can be a bit complicated in terms of the logistics, the accounts, the financial part. So those areas will be a little bit complicated in the initial stage. The question of 1 quarter, right? I don't believe it is something very big. But going forward, the government will issue the certain